The most important part of the mains preparation was 𝐴𝐸𝐿G, for me personally at least.
हाथों में लिटरली ब्रूसेस हो रखे हैं लिख लिख कर।
जो MGP होते हैं ना फॉरम का और 𝐴𝐸𝐿G, उसको रट लो तो GS1 निकल जाएगा, GS3 तो निकल ही जाएगा, GS2 का भी मेजर पोर्शन निकल जाएगा।
Hello everyone, welcome to the ForumIAS Townhall, that is Daily Newspaper Analysis. Today, on December 5, 2025, we have taken these 5 articles for our discussion today. The first article is about New Delhi's relative isolation, India's tryst with the terror. In the first article, the author argues that India is experiencing a moment of reckoning at 3 levels. First one is at the diplomatic isolation we are facing in our foreign relations, and we are also noticing certain regional instability in our neighborhood, and along with this, an internal threat. As you have seen, there was a recent Red Fort attack bomb blast. So the author has tried to identify the reason behind it, the features we can identify, the trends and patterns based on these things, and what should be our approaches to deal with these issues. The second article is about a day to pause and come down to the earth. Today on the December 5, today is World Soil Day. So the theme of the World Soil Day is healthy soils for the healthy cities. So in these themes, we are focusing on the significance of the urban soils. What is the significance and what are the challenges those urban soils are facing, and what steps we can take up to improve the conditions of our urban soils. Because usually when we imagine the soils, we focus on the rural based soils and we usually tend to ignore the urban soils. So this article is talking about that urban soils has also an important role to play. The next article is, do we need to change how cities are governed in India? So this article is basically raising certain critical questions about the governance of the Indian cities. It is emphasizing the need for the reforms to improve the civic administration and accountability. And to discuss this, it is talking about the issues related to the mayors in our Indian setup. The fourth article is about the cyber crackdown. So recently the Supreme Court has directed a CBI to conduct a nationwide probe into the cyber crimes, especially the digital arrest. You might be aware that these days we are seeing a lot of cases of the digital arrest where some fake person imposing as a police officers, they are approaching especially the rural and the senior citizens and doing the scams. So in this regard, the Supreme Court has directed a CBI to conduct the nationwide probe and investigate these issues. The next article is a freeze and thaws. Basically, it is talking about recently the winter session is going on in our parliament. So in this article, it is talking about certain key legislative bills which is on the list and which is supposed to be passed in this session. Though UPSC does not ask the question on the bills, but we can expect that by the passage of this winter session, these bill might get passed. So just if we have a brief idea about those bills beforehand, so it will be easy for us if in case these bills become act and we can have a better analysis later on. So let's start with our first news article. That is the New Delhi's relative isolation, India's tryst with the terror. So basically the author is saying that India is experiencing the moment of reckoning marked by diplomatic isolation, regional instability and internal threats. We have resurfacing the concept of urban terrorism also. So if we explore all those dimensions one by one, the first one is about the strategic isolation in the global affairs. We know that India is growing economy and has improved its diplomatic stature also in the geopolitics. But the trend we are seeing and the appearance, it seems that India is considered as a bystander in major global crises. For example, Ukraine war, Gaza-Israel conflicts, Indo-Pacific realignments. There we are seeing there is less participation from the Indian side, or India is more or less not an active partner in those dialogues. For example, India has been seen an absence from the active mediation in Gaza war, despite having historical ties with the Palestine. So it can be seen that India is not what it seems to be projecting as a major voice in the geopolitical. It might not be true. But if we see the other side, the diplomatically point of view also, there is this lies in our foreign policy also. For example, our foreign policy focus on the strategic autonomy and may lead to have been cautious neutrality. So it might seems that we are bystanders, we are not participating actively, but it is our foreign policy to remain in certain issues neutral. So it might be risk as a marginalization in shaping the peace and security dialogues. So that is a challenge we are facing from the diplomatic point of view also. At one side, we want to project ourselves as a global leader, but due to our certain foreign policies, we seems to be bystanders. If we see the other issue, which has been highlighted by the article, is about the regional instability and hostile neighborhood. So as we know that on our east and west, there are the two countries, Pakistan and Bangladesh. There are certain turmoils going on in both the countries in their internal affairs. There are certain regime changes also. And these recent developments, their internal developments of Pakistan and Bangladesh has a certain replication on India's interest also. So if we see the first example of the Pakistan, so recently the Pakistan has come up with their 27th constitutional amendment and created the post of Chief of Defence Force. And who is going to be this Chief of Defence Force? It is their Field Marshal Asim Munir. So now what is going to happen that Asim Munir is going to have a supreme control over the Army, Navy, Air Force and nuclear assets also. So this is also very important. Now the nuclear assets are under the control of Field Marshal Asim Munir. Or technically we can say it is now under the control of military. So this is showing an indication that Pakistan is again moving towards the military dictatorship. So this creates an issues because we have seen in past that when there is a military dictatorship in the Pakistan regime, it has an implication on Indians front also. Especially those infiltration cases has been increased, attacks, terror attacks, and sometimes escalated wars also has been result when we have seen there is a military dictatorship in the Pakistan. So it has been heightened the risk of strategic adventurism and the border miscalculation for us. If we see the example of Bangladesh, so there is an interim government, and irony is that interim government is showing proximity to the Pakistan. They are forgetting about their historical things, but now we are seeing they are more showing closeness toward the Pakistan. Example is recent visit of Pakistan Navy ship to the Bangladesh revived the military ties after 50 years. And issue is that it could erode India's Bay of Bengal security architecture. So that is a threat of going closeness of Bangladesh and Pakistan. Apart from these two neighbors, if we go on the wider region also, we are seeing same types of regional instability and hostile neighborhood. For example, Myanmar's instability to the Maldives, India out campaign, South Asia's traditional pro-India balance appears to be eroded. So we are seeing there is an anti-India sentiments is going on not only in Pakistan, Bangladesh, but other countries also, like Myanmar, Bangladesh, even Nepal also. So what is an implication is, that is India's neighborhood first policy is going to face severe stresses. Another issue which has been highlighted in this article is about the return of urban terrorism. What is basically the urban terrorism we are seeing? That the attacks which has been conducted by the peoples from the urban cities. We are seeing there is a new terror modules. We have this concept of urban terrorism in 1993 also when there was a bomb blast in Mumbai. But there were certain changes. in that year, 1993, those attacks were carried out by most of them are related to any type of criminal activities. But nowadays, we are seeing in the new urban terrorism, those attacks being carried out or supported or coordinated by certain educated peoples. So that is a new challenge for us, which we have to identify and which we have to address. So if we see the new terror modules of 2025, it is spread across Jammu Kashmir, Faridabad and Delhi. So it is not just limited to one particular city or one particular region. It is composed of primarily medical professionals linked to a University Al-Falah University in Faridabad. It is being said that it was inspired by 1992 Babri Masjid demolition. So it is showing and indicating that still we have deep-seated communal fractures in our generations. Another one, if you have seen the fact that it is around 3,000 kg of explosives and has triggered the car blast near the Delhi's Red Fort area. What is the characteristics we are seeing in these types of new urban terrorism? Is there indigenous radicalization? So now we are seeing the local actors are using those encrypted online platforms and donations under the social and charitable fronts. So it has been said that these educated peoples are being used so that they can have an easy access to the funds and they can create an image that they are taking a fund on the name of charity or social trust. But behind that, they are using it for certain terror activities. Another characteristic that is about the educated elite involvement. So it signifies that ideological radicalization is distinct from the criminal and externally driven terror. That was the case was in 1993 or 2008 attacks. So now the elite educated persons are getting radicalized. We have also seen certain international linkages also. So those initial probes hint a connection with the Pakistan, UAE, Saudi Arabia and Turkey. So it is also again showing that has an international relations or geopolitical dimensions also. So what is the internal security and ethical fault lines? We can see, first of all, regarding a civilizational concern, that is about the issue of radicalization among the educated youth, reveals that there is still a fault line in India's multi-religious and multicultural fabrics. So it is a matter of concern. We usually have a notion that the educated peoples does not support the terrorism or they are hard to be radicalized. But that is not the fact. So that is also a major concern. Another challenge is for the governance, because we have to balance the national security with the social harmony and avoid the religious polarization while addressing the root cause of alienation. So that is how we have to balance out. And another one is regarding certain intelligence level also. For example, the Home Minister claimed that no local joint terror in Jammu and Kashmir has been contradicted and suggests there is need for re-evaluation of intelligence network. So there could be a weak intelligence in our system also, which also need to be corrected. So what should be our security imperatives? So at the first of all, we have to work on the external front. So we have to increase our external vigilance. So what we have to do, heighten the surveillance on the western and eastern borders. We have to strengthen our maritime security in Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea also. And apart from that, we have to keep our regional diplomacy proactive, not reactive. So diplomacy has to be, especially our neighborhood policy, we have to revive it and use it at a proactive level. For the internal measures, at the internal front, what we have to do is that we have to enhance the counter-radicalization programs, especially in universities and professional institutes. There should be better coordination between intelligence agencies to detect the cyber fraud, cyber funding channels and encrypted communications also. So at the one hand, we have to work on the radicalization as well as we have to work on our intelligence level also. Let's move to our next news article. That is a day to pause and come down to earth. So 5th December is celebrated as World Soil Day 2025. And today, this year, theme was healthy soils for the healthy cities. So why we are this time focusing on the cities especially? Because when we create the image of soil, we usually focus on the rural areas. We usually ignore the urban soils. And we have to know that the urban soils also plays a vital role. It is important for the sustaining the cities, combating the climate change, and fulfill the food securities and biodiversity and support the biodiversity also. And another thing is around, if we see at the global level, around 56% population lives in the city. So it makes it important to take care of the urban soils also. So the date of World Soil Day is December 5, 2025. Theme was Healthy Soils for Healthy Cities. So it is highlighting the importance of urban soils beyond the rural farmland. If we see the benefits of the healthy urban soils, so it acts as a natural sponges to absorb the rainwater and reduce the flooding. If we see, take a teaspoon of healthy soil, it contains more organisms than there are peoples on earth. And this vibrant ecosystem performs extraordinary services. First example, combating the climate change and extreme heats. So urban areas, which is often called as a heat island, and has a several degrees warmer than their surrounding. These soils help us when they are covered with a vegetation. They absorb the heat, sequestrate the carbon, atmospheric carbon, and act as a natural air conditioner parks and community garden and green medians. And secondly, it will help in preventing the flood and managing the water, because healthy soils is a city's first line of defense, acting like a sponge to absorb the rain, fall, filter it, and replenish the groundwater supplies. And that is only possible when we have permeable surfaces. If we have impermeable surfaces, then we will not be able to do that. Another one, sequestration of carbon in cool cities area. Third benefit, we can say it supports the biodiversity and urban food production also. Because if you talked about urban food production, so in urban areas, you have seen the rooftop farms, backyard plots, urban agriculture. So they are also relies entirely on the fertile soils. So the soils plays very important role for the urban food systems also. Another one, the key benefits of the urban soil is about our well-being through the green spaces. What it is trying to say that when we have greenery around us, it enhances our mental and physical well-being also. So it has been find out through various studies that green spaces reduce the stress, anxiety, and the depression. Gardening and the time spent in the green and soil-rich environments encourage the physical activities and improve the mental health also. So the urban soil is not just limited to tackle the environmental issues, but also the well-being of individual peoples also, from physical as well as mental level also. So we can say these are the major benefits of urban soils. But these urban soils are facing certain challenges. What are those challenges? So the urban soil faces degradation due to the contamination, compaction, loss of organic matters, and sealing by concrete and asphalt, and weakening the soil ecosystem and cities' resilience. So we have seen that there is increased numbers of concretization in the urban areas. So it is impacting and degrading our soil also. So what should be our action which we need to take up? First of all, we have to restore and protect the urban soil using the compost or organic amendments. Another one we can promote green infrastructure like parks, rain gardens, and replace the concrete based infrastructures. We have to support the urban agriculture also. We can do that. And we can support the responsible soil management. How we can do this responsible soil management is by reducing the usage of chemical fertilizers, minimizing the pesticide use, planting the native species, and protecting the topsoil with mulching. So we can use this. And along with this, we can increase the soil literacy and encourage the household composting. So we can use the schools to improve the soil literacy among the students, among the children also. Let's move to our next news article. That is, do we need to change how cities are governed in India? So this news article is basically raising a critical question about the governance of Indian cities. It is emphasizing that there is need for the reforms to improve the civic administration and accountability. Currently, we see the mayors in India have limited visibility and influence. and most power is being held by chief ministers or state level authorities. And we can see the reason behind this structure is historical also, structural also, and political reasons also. So let's see what are the key issues has been highlighted in this article. So first of all, it is talking about the limited role of mayors. It is saying that Indian cities often lack strong, autonomous, and democratically elected mayors. Most cities' affairs are controlled by the state governments and bureaucrats, undermining the local accountability. So that is the first one, that though we have the mayors, but it has very limited role to play. Another is about the historical context. If we see, India has the oldest municipal corporation in the South Asia, that is Madras Municipal Corporation. If we see the pre-independence era, there the municipal corporation, the mayors used to play a very significant role, even in the political system also. But after that, we have seen there is a decline in the role of those local administrations. And along with this, even the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment tried to revive the local governance system, but that was not able to fully empower the local government. It might be partly due to the political contentions and the citizen apathy also. So it is also putting the burden and concern on the citizen also, because the citizens are also not demanding for the accountability from the local administrations or local government. So that is also one of the reasons that is why there is less devolution of the powers or delegations of the powers to the local peoples. Another reason issue is the political dynamics. If we see the urban governance, it is more often influenced by the state politics. For example, if you have seen there is any local bodies, in that local bodies there will be ex officio roles of MLAs and MPs. So indirectly, it is broadening the political interest and weakening the independence of the local bodies and making the local bodies subordinate to those MPs and MLAs. Another issue is about the financial inadequacy which is faced by the local bodies. So the municipalities struggle with the limited revenue resources, and decentralization of the funds remains the weak and hampering the effective civic service delivery. So these are the certain issues which has been highlighted. If we see about the recent administrative measures which has been taken up, so we have seen certain cities are undergoing restructuring. For example, Hyderabad mergers of multiple civic bodies into Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. Similarly, in Bangalore division is also divided into 5 corporations. So it can be said to facilitate the better governance and electoral processes. So this is certain measures being taken up, but opposition has criticized this move. They have said that experts argue that these moves are often serve the political as well as strategic interest. For example, it will lead to the delays in the elections or consolidating the powers rather than genuinely improving the urban governance. So what should be our need for the governance reforms? So to make the urban governance responsive, citizens must demand greater accountability and participation, which requires awareness and active political engagement in the local level. So it is saying that the first thing which we have to do is the citizen has to demand the greater accountability. If there is an apathy from the citizen itself, so we will not be able to bring the reforms in our urban governance. Another one is structural reforms should include decentralization, the financial powers, clarifying and jurisdictional roles, and reducing the undue political control from the state government or the chief minister's office. Moving toward the financial empowers, autonomous, directly elected mayors with real decision-making capacity can significantly improve the urban civic administration and delivery of the services. Let's move to the next news article, that is about the digital arrest. So recently the Supreme Court directed the CBI to conduct a nationwide probes into the cybercrime, especially the digital arrest scams. Normally, if we see, such central probes required the state consent, but court justified that due to the interstate and transnational natures of this crime, the CBI should conduct the probe. There is one thing which we have to talk about, that is of the transnational dimensions is also important in this cybercrime. That we will be seeing this. So the first, let's see what is exactly the digital arrest scam means. So here the fraudster impersonate as a police or government official via video call And victims, which are usually senior citizens or rural backgrounds, are accused of the fake crimes and coerced to the transfer monies to avoid the arrest. It is estimated, as per the government data, that around 3,000 crores plus scams has been done through this digital arrest scam. What is the Supreme Court's key direction? It has asked the CBI to investigate the scammers as well as bank officials who have opened the mule accounts, because mule accounts creators are enabling the fund transfer. So it's not just scammers, it is also those certain bank officials who are supporting them. So those people will also be investigated. Related scams like investment or part-time job scams should also be investigated. Supreme Court has also given directions to the RBI also to use artificial intelligence or machine learnings to track the money layering through the multiple accounts. And it is also directed to the certain online intermediaries to cooperate under IT rules 2021. Now, why it matters? It matters because the cyber fraud is rising sharply. According to NCRB data, it reflects a surge in cyber crime cases showing both scale and sophistication. So it is getting complex every day by day. So it requires certain specialized agencies to conduct these types of investigation. Another dimension, because of sophistication, we can say, is about the transnational dimensions also. The scam centers are usually in Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos. And we have seen these areas is also hotbed for certain illegal trades and has our security implication also. So these can be exploited by the trafficked workers to run the online fronts, and these zones often benefit illegal regimes and militia taxi the proceeds. US has also formed a scam center risk force, and India may need similar coordination in this direction. If we talked about policy and international dimension, so India must work with ASEAN and UN for the sanction and joint operations. We have to strengthen our cyber diplomacy and cross-border data exchange mechanism also. At domestic level, we have to create massive cyber awareness and digital literacy drives, especially for the rural and senior citizens. We have to focus on the capacity building of the state police also in digital forensic and the financial tracking also. Let's move to our last news article, that is freeze and thaws. So basically it is talking about the winter session going on in our parliament. So we have certain key bills which are on the list. So let's see those certain key bills on the legislative agenda. So first bill is the Jan Vishwas Amendment of the Provision Bill 2025. So it is basically to improve the criminal justice or bring the reforms in our criminal systems. So it has proposed certain amendments in multiple central laws to decriminalize the minor offense, replace the jail terms with the monetary penalties, and rationalize the compliance project. So basically it will help us to improve our ease of doing business and ease of living also. Another one is Higher Education Commission of India, HEC Bill 2025. It is aiming to create a single higher education regulators aligned with National Education Policy 2020, and it will replace UGC, UICTC, and NCT. Supporters, those who are in support of this, they are seeing this policy in the coherence, whereas the critics, we can say the counter argument is that there is a fear of over centralization, erosion of university and state autonomy, and weak representation of disadvantaged group. Other item listed is about National Highway Amendment Bill, Atomic Energy Bill, Arbitration and Conciliation Amendment Bills, which indicates that we are focusing on infrastructure, strategic sectors, and contract enforcement also. Finance Ministry also has presented a bill, that is Health Security, National Security Cess Bill. So in this, the bill will levy additional cess on specified products like pan masala, tobacco-related manufacturing processes to fund the public health and national security. So that's all for our today's news article. Thank you, everyone.